Welcome to collaboration, a quick one made up in a few minutes ago. Simon is leading everybody into pitching an idea. I will take the notes and put them on a motherboard, and then we're gonna run an election to discuss what kind of idea we're gonna dive deeper into as a proposal ideation.
Brilliant. Thank you for the intro, Tevo. Rather than giving you 60 seconds to start from cold, introduce yourself and what your project's about, and then we'll start the clock after that. So you get a few more seconds than 60, and we can sort out any technical issues after the introduction before we start, because I think it's unfair otherwise. So Oscar, do you want to go first? Introduce yourself and your project.
Yeah. Okay, this is Özgür. I'm a researcher and a computer engineer working in public sector in Turkey. I have been promoting Cardano blockchain through my professional LinkedIn. I have around 2,000 connections just to take attention of the community and bring them to the project Catalyst since last year, March. So I have been taking some attention there, but I was thinking maybe if we can collaborate with other professionals through LinkedIn and share content, collaborate in a collaborative way together, we can bring more people on Project Catalyst to collaborate together. So mainly my contacts are from computer science, computer engineering, developers, software engineers, so but they are not so much interested in blockchain. So I want to bring them on Cardano to, let's say, enhance development and also bring them to this new economy, so that we can change something. And I'm looking for some friends to collaborate together in LinkedIn who possibly have more connections there, and we can, I think, prepare a proposal as part of onboarding new member challenge.
Can I get you to start your pitch then, so we can get through everybody? And I'm going to get a clock here. And, oh, you can't see it because it's blanking it out. Never mind. My phone's
all right.
But go on. I'll start you off now. Go on. Off you go.
Well, I guess that's it. I mean, I want to create content on LinkedIn and in a collaborative way. So I didn't think in detail regarding budget and other things, but I also would like to shift from my public sector working to a kind of part-time or full-time in the future in Catalyst. So I just want to see some, let's say, collaboration to make my volunteer work, because I have been doing this for a year, and turn into some life, let's say, saving job or changing the sector. If there's someone interested in doing similar things, I'm ready to cooperate on a proposal under onboarding new members challenge.
Cool. You've got 4 seconds left. Well done.
Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. Right. Who was next? It was Dylan. So do you want to introduce yourself first before you do your pitch and sort of give us a bit of background like Oscar did?
Yeah, okay. I'm a chemical engineer, and my team's with another chemical engineer in biochem, and also a microbiologist. And basically, we're in the algae field, so we're looking at food sustainability, securities in that, and ending malnutrition, supplying people with the required DHA and EPA that they need. Also biofuels, bioplastics, and just other products we can manufacture with that. We can also use fertilizer and clean up wastewater. So a large industry there, large about to boom industry. And we've decided we want to build a sustainable world. And we're looking at building a project as sort of like a DAO, where the community can get in and buy tokens towards non-for-profit farms.
Want me
and
to
then
start
revenue.
for your pitch? Sorry, you sort
Yep.
of started
Okay.
into
So
it. Okay, go
this
on then.
is the
Keeping it fair for
pitch. Yeah.
everyone.
So
Yeah, go on then.
so then with that, create non-for-profit farms, and the profit from that will, half of it will go to increase the size of the farm, and the other half will go back into purchasing tokens to increase the price of the token, to boost it that way. So yeah, we've chosen Cardano because it's also peer reviewed, and we're all scientists and engineers, so we believe in that fact, and also low energy cost of running. So we're sort of net zero, and we're looking at doing things like, algae will produce more oxygen in the world than trees do. So if we can actively draw carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, feed it to the algae, and produce oxygen with that, we'll reduce climate as well. So there's a lot of positives. Jumping over a little bit all over the place. It's 2 a.m. here. I'm extremely tired. We've had floods this week, so it's been a very hectic week. But
yeah,
that's pretty much it. So yeah,
time's up anyway, so that's good. You got your main points across. That was the best thing. Right, is there anybody else who wants to do a pitch? Because if not, I'll do mine as well. I wanted to give everybody else a chance to get into the call first before I start doing mine. Go on then, Jeffrey. I'll get you on. Can you unmute yourself? Where is he? He's disappeared off my screen. I can see you. There you are. That's it. Brilliant. So yeah,
Yes.
over to you then. Introduction, and then let me know when you want to start your pitch, and I'll do the timer.
Yes, so my name is Jeff. I am in the US, in Arizona, where I teach at university, focusing on ethics, law, and policy and science. And so, I have a lifetime of working on environmental issues. Let me go ahead and just start the pitch based on a proposal submitted for Fund 7. The idea is to try to compete with the successful climate DAO that was started as Klima with a K. It was in the Ethereum platform, and they raised a remarkable amount of funding in Ether and used that to buy voluntary climate emission reduction credits. And our idea is to try to generate a competition going between, it's a healthy competition between Cardano ADA enthusiasts and Ether enthusiasts to see if we can outdo them. And so to build the same type of resources to raise funds, but not to focus solely on voluntary carbon credits, carbon markets, but those that are compulsory as well, that are found throughout the world. And so they run theirs as a for-profit activity, and we would try to do the same thing. Thanks.
Cool. What was the name of that? Is that Kiva DAO? Did I see that going?
Yeah, it's Klima is the one
Klima,
in
that's
Ether,
it.
and
Yeah.
the one I submitted is Cardano Climate DAO, and that's
Okay.
how Melanie reached out to me.
Yeah, I did see that in Fund 7 and voted for it. We need that, definitely.
Well, we'd
You
love
must-
to bring it under your umbrella here with Cardano for Climate. And so I don't take any sense that I need to own these things. We want to build networks of communities and let the community grow.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to say something just about your remark. It's first of all, great idea and really good luck with that. It's not to bring under our umbrella. This is our umbrella of every one of us. So everyone is welcome and drive whatever he wants around climate. We're all going to support. So everyone is welcome to come and drive that. And this important area to improve is very important. So yeah, it's no one place. It's all of us place. Yeah.
It's great to hear.
Something I forgot to say at the start of all this, if you want to drop links to your proposals or your websites, just pop them in the chat, because I'll put notes on the YouTube video with all those links in basically when we upload it. So that will give you a bit more promotion as well. Is anybody else wanting to do a pitch? Who's not gone forward
I will
yet?
do a quick one. I will do a quick one as well. And
Yeah.
then even 7 minutes, another call. So I will stay in the carbon area just for Jeffrey. So it was also a proposal that I did actually the past 2 funds, and although they got the highest rating in the miscellaneous, they were not voted. So it's a carbon footprint ledger. So the objective of that is how you create a ledger for carbon for impact carbon for, a lot of companies are calculating their carbon footprint today, but it's kind of private. So you put it on the ledger, right? It's visible to everyone. So that's one side. And then they mitigate it. So we do also a ledger for the NGO they mitigate it with. How much money they got, what's the impact that was on the ground. And then you can have a full ledger of actually what's my carbon ongoing, how much I mitigated with transparency of the mitigation, and bring back the transparency of the impact, right? So it's a carbon footprint ledger basically for, to mitigate your carbon. We want to build it on Cardano. I partnered there basically with an NGO called the Pond Foundation and My Carbon Zero, which is doing it for companies. And basically we bring their work into the Cardano ecosystem. So I really hope that this time it will get funded this time.
Yeah, you're putting it in again then, basically, into Fund 8.
Sorry?
You're putting it across into Fund 8 again.
Yeah. I mean, we're not giving up. I mean, we feel it's very important. And in general, my passion is transparency and traceability of funding to impact and actual impact. And I have a lot of proposals around that. So yeah, we'll get it in.
Yeah. Right. Anybody else want to go? We've got nearly everybody's had a go, I think, haven't they? Right. I'll do mine then.
I thought maybe I would.
Go on. Yeah.
I didn't come prepared to make a pitch necessarily, but my name is Dan Kimball. I've been involved in Cardano just since last summer when I went to the summit in Laramie, Wyoming. I'm here in Boulder, Colorado right now, but I've had a long experience in doing blockchain development work, primarily in the ESIO platform. I want to bring our experience to Cardano, so we've got a major project going now that just launched recently called FreeOS, FREEOS.io. I'll put a link in there. And this is a community currency project designed to kind of establish a new standard for how to create community currencies. It will become, it is currently a DAO, but we'll enhance that DAO to make it basically kind of a bottom-up approach to developing communities, connecting communities, and collaborating within communities. I don't mean communities in a physical way, but communities as interest groups around the planet. One of them, of course, is climate change. I don't really have a pitch here so much as to say, just to finish the introduction, I've been a long time entrepreneur. I've not really ever worked for anybody. I just kind of want to build projects and develop technology. I've been in the hardware and software space for many, many years. Just as far as my pitch, if there was anything, I currently have two proposals in, they're related to one another. One of them is to establish a bottom-up collaboration platform that's really designed to kind of turn on its head the method of collaboration that we have right now, from a kind of a scarcity model collaboration to one which is a community-based or abundance-based collaboration. And so I've partnered with a major innovation management platform company that has been developing projects, innovation management platforms for many years. And we are establishing, changing and morphing their existing innovation management platform to one that helps build projects from the bottom up. So the second proposal I have is only because I'm interested in cross-chain development, that to install that collaboration platform in the Dfinity environment. The Dfinity is the place where we run the front end for our FreeOS project, and a place where we want to help build DAO structures. So that's really a cross-platform project to try to get engagement between Cardano and the Dfinity environment. So that's all I have to say about it. Love to have you all join. If you, Tevo and I are trying to put together a meeting to discuss these kinds of things further. So I think Tevo will probably post something for that meeting.
Just to I'm really excited to talk about yours. You'll see why in a minute when I do my pitch as well. Anybody else want to go? I think, Ashton, did you want to put anything in? I think you're the only one who hasn't done anything.
Sure. I didn't know if I was going to do a proposal, but the thing I was thinking about was maybe developing some visualizations of data on the Cardano network, just to help better understand, what SPOs are doing, the activity, also like what's going on with NFTs and actual hard data, but being able to visualize it because there is so much. So to, for instance, use like D3.js to visualize blockchain network activity on Cardano. That was the basic idea.
Okay, that's definitely one worth exploring. I think there's a lot goes on that people can't see at the moment. I saw somebody was accusing Charles Hoskinson this week of one of the sort of Reddit groups, writes articles under there, and he was accusing Charles Hoskinson of preempting the Sunday swap thing and doing some transactions before it opened trading. It all turned out to be a load of rubbish, but it was that kind of visibility of what's going on and who's doing it that's missing, I think. Cool. Anybody else joined since I started? I could scroll up this window and have a look. No. Right, I'll go last then and do my own. I'm Simon Heath. I've spent 30 years in IT. I only started poking around Cardano at the back end of last year. I Googled the question, how to reward voters for taking part in democracy, and I bumped into Catalyst, and it's like a rabbit hole, isn't it? I was like, oh my God, this has been going on and I didn't even know about it. How did I miss it all? So I've been working with a small group of people bouncing ideas of how to run democracy and change democracy. And we're putting in a couple of proposals in Fund 8 to do some discovery on how to run an architecture that can run Web 2 and Web 3 concurrently all through a single sign-on. And then another discovery piece on going out to communities and trying to design the UX of what it is they need to run their community in terms of finance and budgeting and voting and everything else. So that's to sort of set the scene. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of that already, Dan. So exciting to hear that. And then what I've come up with this week, I said we actually need a challenge fund for this. So I've started writing up what we can do there and actually bring all this together on a platform that it's not me that wants to build it. I'm not in a blockchain person. All I do system testing. So I'll be an end user and I'll be able to sort of check the system does what it's intended and find the users and bring them into the platform. So it's fundamentally what we're trying to do is start a grassroots approach to replacing representative democracy by building out the user base in all the activists and the communities, get that working, bring it up to local government, take over local government with independent candidates. In the UK, we can ask the Home Secretary to change the constitution of a local government, and we could potentially have an DAO running if we wanted. It'd be a new idea, and they'd have to go and get all the people digging around and poking the idea, but that's where I'm hoping to get to. So yeah, so look out for that one. And it's going to be a big collaboration with everybody to bring in all of these apps that you've just talked about. I want them all running on this collaboration platform so that you can just log into your group and you can do some tree planting, manage your funds, all the rest of it, do your voting and stuff. So that's me done. Right.
Wonderful. Yeah, I agree, Simon. You're doing a lot of the same stuff that we are, and I'm sure there's a clear synergy that can happen for us to talk further. So I'm on with you. So
Yeah.
Let's just keep the conversation going. Anybody
Cool.
else?
I think we need to go to Tevo now and let him share his screen if you can, because he's probably got something to show us what we've just been talking about.
I'm gonna share my robot, and then if possible, you can join and we can have voting. Although that's one vote is maybe the same idea as we have. So if like several people are talking about same idea, maybe we can make a choice. But just to, as we have like 7 people here, could also do some voting. How it will work is that I'm gonna select few sticky notes. So basically we can go over them, but on the first section, this was the idea of like onboarding people through LinkedIn. And we take this idea and turn it into problem statement. But before we do that, we basically do what for all these pitches we had here. I don't have like a concrete sticky note to, so we kind of select one of each. But since you heard what others said, you kind of have the concept of what the discussions, where it will go. So we could all select one of these sticky notes. The way you select this, you just click on it and it will vote. If you join in the Marabot, I posted in the chat. And then I will give, like, let's say 2 votes to everybody, 1 minute to vote, and let's just pick 1 vote per that. I'm gonna just take 1 note from each of these sections.
What a chance to get logged in and find Miro.
Then I can start.
Run through a browser, doesn't it? If you're on the phone, I think you'll struggle, but if you've got a PC nearby.
Oh yeah.
Tevo, maybe at the table, I can probably.
Well, from the people who were and voted, we got building a sustainable world, the most votes. And Jeffrey also asked, okay, now you got it. Did you got your vote in, or Jeffrey, or can you share what was your expectation? Then
On the list. Yeah, for people who couldn't vote, shout out what you want your numbers on. Can we do that, Tevo? Add them on to the top. So it won't be anonymous voting, but
sure.
So
however, right now, if we could go with the tooling consensus, the people who were able to participate, then we would start making a problem statement about building a sustainable world. And yeah, if nobody is kind of against it, then the first thing I guess a slight introduction to the mini proposal process. So the idea here is to start with the main thing, which is problem statement. So we would have to start doing a problem statement, and we do it in a root causalizing way. So we kind of say what's the problem, we talk about why is it a problem, we try to redefine it and go through the steps to end up with the problem statement. Once we have problem statement, we can take another module to talk about possible solutions. We think of it as scoping down mechanism, as we try to find the minimal viable product. So when you already have here options to like, are we going to improve algae field, or are we going to produce biofields? So in the solution section and in the problem statement section, we kind of we narrow down our focus. It's just to get the process through faster, and then you can like kind of build with your mini proposals the bigger concept. If you never heard about mini proposals before, then when you zoom out, there is a process about it. When this is interesting and you feel like it helps you, and also other videos who also has gone through this process. There's a project management side of that if you want to participate, create these kinds of workshops, or refine how these workshops look like. And there's a new template for just to ideate new stuff. But yeah, that was a quick overview. So let's get into this. I see nobody was kind of against like using a different problem statement. So what is the problem in building that we need to build a sustainable world? What is the problem in this? Are we wasting too much resources, or
not
there
enough
is some?
funding? It's one of the big problems, isn't it?
And running out of resources. So we will run out of fuel, we will run out of food, and we have a solution for that.
Do we, in order to scope this problem statement already down, is there any kind of like a case study or a government or a company or an area you would like first create that company, or is it like a network or platform which is not really focused on any group, but in a hope to bring in specific, like, family office or wherever these resources are used.
I believe there would be sort of probably a foundation overarching everything, and then non-for-profit systems within that as well. So they may be a foundation and companies, but that structure is needs to be finalized to be regulated with local law, federal law, and international law, all to work together in a sort of democratic way through consensus.
What was another problem statement you kind of mentioned besides running out of resources?
It was the lack of funding to develop solutions, sustainable solutions. Yeah.
Okay, to scope it down even more, so we are talking only about then what kind of sector is that even? Do you have any view?
Agricultural. But crossing over with the blockchain, that's where it becomes, several sectors, I believe.
Yeah. Even in Catalyst, you're not necessarily going to get your funding, are you? You might put your proposal in, and then some DeFi project will push you down the bottom, and you won't get your funding to bring your real world problem in.
Yes, it's something that's very interesting. It's how to approach it correctly, so you can provide a solution that everyone wants a solution to, just getting it happening.
Okay. Now we could.
I guess another thing is possibly education into it. I'm not sure if that. I think that's one of the big areas for a lot of solutions that are out there, just making people aware.
Making people aware of the danger, or making people aware that these things are possible now?
That these things are possible.
Yeah. This is where there was the proposal to do the LinkedIn conversations, wasn't it, at the start, where it's about going out to your professional networks and saying, hey guys, crypto isn't just moving tokens around for money, there's a lot of other stuff going on now.
Okay, we are now also, so I think we are missing something to connect to the solution. But before we go that, could you answer, so if you take this problem statement, there is a lack of funding to develop sustainable agricultural solutions, then why, and it's a bit of obvious stuff, but why is the problem that we do not have the funding for this sector, this sector?
I think two things. One is competition. There is money going into the sector, but when you've got a small project, you're not looking at $1 billion projects. If you're just trying to get started with a small group of people, then, and you're not actually building a product to sell yet, that's where you can't get the funding, is it? It's the research side and the information providing side is missing. If you're going to go and make a thing, you'll get funding for it from venture capitalists because they can see the market for the thing you're making. It's when you're just doing stuff to make the world a better place, you don't get the money.
Yeah, we do have a lot of research into it now, and it is being identified for sure. But just making it available to everyone is a different story.
Yeah, you've got stuff stuck in the labs, basically, is what you're saying, isn't it?
We've moved on from laboratories to past pilot stage now, into commercial. So commercial building is happening. But yeah, It's all obviously looking at being privatized, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And there's plenty of space for everyone. So it's not real competition. It's just other people doing excellent things in that space. But I think the ability to bring it to a blockchain, and also then, eventually looking at smart contracts to deal with quality control, traceability, tracking, supply chain management, everything like that built in is another benefit there. So I don't think it's the research is missing. I think the research is done and fairly clear. It's more the knowledge of it, the education or the knowledge, and products are starting to be made, but it's the awareness that people aren't aware of how much EPA and DHA they actually need for their mind and their heart, things like that. Another vegan source of protein from a plant-based material that's available, instead of cutting down forests to plant soybeans, we can do it on non-arable land. We don't need fresh water, so we're not competing with those sectors. And instead of killing fish for fish oil, that's how the oil is made from the algae. The fish eat the algae to get the oil, and it accumulates. So we can get the algae and then get to a process stage where we have the oil straight from a plant, rather than affecting fish population as well. There's so many benefits.
So you're saying we
crazy.
currently wasting resources compared to the models we could have.
Yes, and we can also, reduce fish culling and things like that of krill fish, and we don't need to use for biofuels. We don't need to use corn crops and things like that for this. We can grow this. It's one of the fastest growing plants in the world. It doubles overnight. So,
Dylan, I just wanted a little clarification.
yep.
The algae produce the compounds, but the krill concentrate the compounds, and then the fish who eats the krill, and so you end up killing the fish in order to get the compounds. You're saying that this can be done at the algae level. Is that correct? That's
right. That's correct. So we will cultivate the algae, then extract it, harvest it, dewater it, dry it, and then process it through oil extraction, and then end up with a oil that we can then refine to different levels. And then from there, the byproduct is a protein, which is excellent for you as well.
I've heard of people doing this in the krill area. I mean, extracting oil from krill, and that maybe you just wild captured krill. I don't know if it's farmed or not, but does the krill add anything? I don't mean to get too much into the technology here. But
it's the same. It's the same oil.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ahead of the curve. I've got some sitting on my shelf.
Yeah,
algal oil.
It's good for you.
Omega-3 ones, vegan ones.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to.
Yeah. So right now, what we kind of already went into solution area, which is good to get insight back to the problem statement. And what we'll do now is, again, just in case I can also share the Marabot again, do now new voting round. What we're gonna decide upon now is like all of these paths are actually like the proposals we could do, because we're now scoping down the problem statement. And what now resonates with you the most is kind of what we're looking at. So I'm gonna give 2 votes, 1 minute, and we select these problem statements in the outskirts. yeah, I started doing this marble votings recently because they're actually fun statistical thing to see. I guess this wanted to vote on 3 stuff.
As a clear winner.
Okay, so we are going through the waste resource management and a bit making people aware of these solutions. Almost same thing, aware of solutions and also aware of the research, what goes into that. And then we also have development is left in labs and do not get necessary outreach. So
It's all poking at awareness, isn't it? Yeah.
It's kind of leading to this.
It seems to me that these maybe are not necessarily separate problems, but they are kind of common things that can be solved. I mean, they are separate problems, but they can be solved with a common solution. So I would maybe want to group these problems into something that could be done with a larger, complete project.
I thought the same thing, that perhaps because one thing you want outreach, and I guess outreach is a part of education already. At least you know something you can dive into, and in that research, what we want to try, I guess, is that the resource part of it. That hey, there's a problem out there that we waste resources, even though we could use these like to save these resources to do something else. But now we have to kind of think, how do we put it in I guess we could move this thing far to the solution part. So how do we gonna improve the resource management and like make it less wasting resources?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking
I would
out loud.
agree. I would agree. I think that the wasting resources is kind of the umbrella problem that you're trying to solve in a more global sense, but you can't do that, overnight, but you can start smaller with these other projects or problems that need to be addressed. So I would agree that there can be a common solution.
Yeah, because it's not just.
I think one of the issues is that the resources that we're wasting are finite resources that we're running out of, and that's going to be a big issue.
Yeah, there's the fishing fleets using diesel to push the ships around, and then there's the fish themselves that are natural resources that are being overfished everywhere. That's two thinking.
Yeah, it depends on the final product too, because I mean, we have the ability to make the diesel and make the fuel out of the algae. All the crude oil is just basically fossilized
algae, isn't it? Yeah, it's been sank to the bottom and squashed for 10 million years.
So the research is there for fuel too. It's just not economically viable now, but as fuel prices go up and we run out of fuel, it will become viable. And we'll always need fuel for things, even though we will move to solar and wind and water for power. There will always be a need for that fuel. So this is a way to produce that economically and cleanly. But I mean, it depends on the problem that we're looking at. If we're looking at for EPA, or I think if we focus mainly for food, it may give us a like, we don't want to, if we can get a food in a cleaner fashion, then that may be a way of looking at it, or feedstock even for food that we would eat.
Tony Sieber at Rethink X has done a load of work on this, talking about the age of freedom, he calls it, where up until now, the last 10,000 years, we've been extracting stuff from nature. And what he's saying, that the next 10 years, we're going to see a transformation of markets where we build stuff up from basic feedstocks and combine them into more complex compounds and products. So including food.
Yeah,
Right. I
that's
might
right.
I might add I've had some experience in Malaysia with the palm oil industry, and that is a very interesting parallel because there was a movement initially when the palm oil industry took off. Malaysia, basically decimated forests to create these palm oil plants, but the palm oil was initially designed for foodstuffs. But there was a big movement by the government to push the development of biodiesel, and that has been a strong push in that direction. So there's very similar projects and problems that have already been solved in other industries that might help here. Maybe you're already well aware of that, Dylan. I don't know.
Yes, yeah. In the food sector, I mean fuel sector, definitely there's a lot of candidates for fuel or bio, but it depends what you're using. I mean, if you're using corn crops to make biodiesel, I mean, that would be much better suited for human consumption rather than fuel. And also, just offsetting the protein for feedstock in animals, poultry, and of course, fish. It's a good fish food. Or cattle. That's another area. But obviously humans, to get the protein, I mean, protein's not cheap.
Are you connecting this at all with the fish farming side of things?
Definitely. So the fish farms will buy algae to feed the fish because, I mean, it's a natural food for them. And they generally, the big ones have their own mixtures already, and then they'll mix this in for extra nutrients of what the fish need in the hatcheries.
Could we explain what is the resource we are using? Are we talking about fuel, or do we now want to talk about food?
That's either, really. I mean, they're both going to run out as population grows. So that's a solution for both, but it's also it's up to you to choose, I think, at this stage. Or
from what you've said today, it feels like you're saying the food is more economically viable already, whereas the fuel, the market needs to change a bit first. So maybe the food is the one to focus on.
We're focusing on food, definitely. The research is focusing on food too.
Yeah.
Well, that given, I think there's also an important, you talked about moving into the DAO space, and I'm a big proponent of capturing the value within a DAO and within interest groups. I mean, for example, food production in this algae, if there was a DAO that helps capture the value that's created in the DAO, you're much better off to and develop a community currency and a community DAO around that kind of production, and not look for, I mean, you could certainly get investment into this to get things going, but I think the target should be around trying to build a global interest around this food production with algae. And given that I've had a lot of experience in licensing, if the research and technology that you've developed could be licensed to the DAO, and then the DAO provides that as a technology platform for others who want to participate in it and make it kind of an open source development project, algae production project. Seems to me that would be a good solution for kind of globalizing this from the beginning, and then I don't know the nature of your tech. I'd have to engage more with you to understand that. I had my own experiences in the 70s working with the New Alchemy Institute on developing algae ponds that we pulled up out of the ground to increase the amount of light coming in. But if the tech could be kind of licensed through a DAO structure, I'm sorry, I'm jumping into maybe the solution part of things, but we got to go somewhere.
We'll do that all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, if you could license this technology such that even a small farmer in Indonesia could be a participant in the production and then contribute their resource. Maybe their output is, you know, just the dried algae or something that I don't know how your tech goes, but that to me is a way of using a DAO structure to globalize the project, distribute the currency within the community that's doing it, and try to capture that endogenous value in the production of the algae itself, because that's where a lot of value is going to come. And if you go for external funding for this kind of thing, which is fine, I mean, I'm not against it. It's just that external funding oftentimes goes towards exporting the profits, and I'd be a proponent of trying to keep the profits internal to the DAO to generate the value that comes from what you produce, the value that you generate.
Yep, I agree. And it's very interesting. It's something that we've sort of discussed as well. So that way it could be global. And running it sort of non-for-profit is the idea. So that way there's the, you know, any revenue goes back into itself and back into boosting that whole architecture.
Do you feel that your tech, the research that you've done already is in a form that can be packaged in a way that would allow distributed production? I mean, I don't know, is it a scale thing that you're struggling with, or can it be done on a larger scales?
Well, I think small farms could pop up all around the world. It depends on where you're located to what will grow. Obviously, there's a lot of factors in growing algae too, the climate and the temperature and the species. There's a lot of species, and that's the thing. We could find temperatures and climates that grow different algae for different purposes. So there will be benefits everywhere, but then, you know, you come to where you end your processing, and would there be like a overall processing center where small farms could collaborate with, or would that all be done on site? And that's something you'd have to look at sort of farm by farm or area by area, what the infrastructure is.
Is this something you do like in a pond with natural sunlight, or is it something you can do like in vertical farming in a container with UV lights and things?
Yes, you can do both. So I've seen people do it in bioreactors. We have open ponds, but you've also got photobioreactors, which are the tubes they grow it in. The difference is obviously the volume. In the tubes, you can't go as big. You've got a lot of control, but with the research we've done and the progress we've made, we're able to control it in open ponds, so it doesn't get contaminated. We have a pure product, and then from there, just quality assurance testing, making sure we're doing the right thing, and then processing a clean product at the end. I mean, all of this would have to be suitable for your food standards throughout countries, but that's all achievable.
I just would like a little clarification around your tech. Is it more in the area of the production environment, or is it more in the processing side?
Both. Yeah, both. So
is it
from
combined?
Production, it is combined. So that's why we've got microbiologists and chemical engineers, and to that extent, like all science. So from laboratory to commercialization.
Sounds
what
fabulous.
Actually you do in the laboratory? Like testing how temperature changes algae and how to speed these things up, for like what, or do they get infected, or?
So there's in the laboratory, it can be cultivating different types of algae. There's hundreds of thousands of different types of algae. So you could cultivate them and see then what's in them and what would be beneficial, excuse me, from each algae, whether it would be fuel, food. You've got so many different types of algae with beneficial properties, beta carotene, your AstraZeneca, everything in those is beneficial. So it depends what you're growing to what you market. And there's untapped resources there that we haven't even looked at yet. So we'll find more benefits in more of the plants that we haven't looked at yet.
And I also assume the science how to grow them.
Yep. So the science, we work with universities and work in universities. So we follow a strict sort of peer-reviewed science method for all this. And some of the members I'm working with, have been in this industry for over 15 years. So, and we work with many PhD students, and our connections is worldwide. On LinkedIn, we constantly liaise with people all around the world in the algae industry, all collaborate. It's a big group of people, and a lot of people are, very helpful because they want this industry to go. They want this to be given to the people.
Yeah.
Obviously, there'll be money to be made along the way, which people are obviously going to tap into. But if we can make a sort of, open system for it, and allow the public to own it, and as farms grow, people grow it, and then that revenue comes back into it and grows it, then those people can also get rich through that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the important part is, the benefits there that can be done with helping to reduce. I mean, even just having a good source to reduce CO2 in the atmosphere. That alone is at the moment we can just plant trees. That's all we can do. We can't actively decrease the CO2, but if we have a way to do that for sustainability, that's an amazing factor that we're not currently doing. And then with food, fuel, bioplastics, I mean, instead of using hydrocarbons, we could make different products out of this. So it's got multiple uses.
You can see how all the pictures that we've heard today link together, can't you? Because you're looking at something that wants to produce carbon dioxide reduction. Somebody did a pitch on carbon credits. We've had the platforms on getting communities to do stuff together, getting stuff out onto LinkedIn as information to people. It's all interrelated. It's like we're all doing our little bits, and what Dan and me are trying to do is work out how to get that all into one big system so that you can do it as, you can start a local group and you've automatically got the connections out to the community to market it and sell your products. One of the questions I've got that you were talking about here, you've got these, you're researching the different algae and finding out what they produce. Do you then need to find a market for what you can produce? So you say, oh, we can make this type of oil, and then you've got to link that to a purchasing person, haven't you? Somebody who needs that product.
It's funny because there's the requirement for this already is much higher than we can provide.
Okay, so you found your market.
And when the big companies want to buy the product, they don't want a little bit. They want hundreds of tons, which we need these large farms to be able to supply them with.
Yeah.
The market is there for a lot of these oils and a lot of the products. It's just supplying it. And, we're investigating privately doing it, obviously. I just feel that being able to make it sort of an open market and allow everyone to be involved of the creation of this through a token and then run it on Cardano would be an amazing feat that a lot of people could get behind and support.
Yeah,
to make
there's
this happen.
definitely a blockchain marketplace for this stuff, isn't there? It feels like a distributed production system that people
it's
say,
different. I've been trying to find other projects similar, and not much. I mean, there's excellent things happening in the climate space. Excellent, and that's what this is about. But main solutions are planting trees, which is fantastic, but there's a lot more out there, And I'm sure, I don't have all the solutions at all, but I have a few, and there'll be more people with more. And if we can collaborate together, we can make the world a more sustainable, better place.
Yeah, what I didn't put in my pitch is I've just started a local climate action group in my town. And it's that led me to say, right, I need the tools that don't exist at the moment to be built out the Cardano ecosystem. So this, what you're talking about is what we're looking at, starting what's called a climate, what do they call it? Climate emergency centre, that's it. And it's like set up as a profit-making entity that's self-sustaining, because we don't want to rely on grant funding forever. So we've got a tree planting project that we want to do, but we're looking at other things, and this would be the perfect thing. If we can find the location and the space to get this sort of project, that's our funding mechanism sorted, and then we can do all the non-profit making stuff on the back of it. So if we can build a marketplace for groups like us to sell to bigger purchasers who want hundreds of tons, we can be 5 tons of that or something for a startup and scale it over time. So it's that linking it all together.
Right. Simon, I agree with you completely that, this is part of this endogenous idea, is try to develop it within communities and keep that that value inside the community, both whether it's markets or production or the processing side of it. All of it should be kind of considered as a DAO. I think the concern that I often have around projects like this is that the thinking is always really big. I mean, it's like save the world for climate change. I mean, that's huge, but it has to focus down. And what I like about Dylan's proposal here is that you have to focus it down into a modular, scalable solution that really, delivers what we're talking about. And that takes time and effort and all. And I think if there's any project here, I mean, I think we have the global picture clear that we need to have things like this, but the real focus has to be around getting this tech into a modular form that's scalable and that can really generate the value that it has the potential for. If we don't do that, it's not going to help with the big picture. So my point here is just, Dylan, I think the focus should be around, we know the values that it can provide, and you should certainly tout the values that it can provide, but you really need to connect it to the modular solutions. Like we did these fish ponds, algae-filled fish ponds at the New Alchemy years and years ago, and this was, that was the solution we were trying to, and it was taken on, for example, by Solar Aqua Farms in San Diego, which turned it into a wastewater, management solution. So. This was years and years ago, but the idea is the same. We have to get to the productization, or at least licensing the tech in such a way that it can be done on a local scale. That's all my thought.
And you're exactly right with this scalable. So we've come up with a system now to start a small farm and make sure it operates correctly before then scaling up, rather than not go huge at first and it fail. You need to make sure it works and then stepwise grow that. And that is definitely the plan.
Where are you in terms of building a farm? I mean, where are you at the level of production?
Yep. Well, it's just getting the funding, and we're ready. We've been consulting for people that are doing it, and farms are being built. We've successfully built farms all around the world. So
at what scale?
The next step, from 10 hectares to I'd say 50. Others are looking at going much bigger, and but yet again, that they're not ready for that step up. They have to go through their initial steps to make sure that everything's feasible, everything's running correctly before the big jump ups.
Is there a minimal scale?
Minimum scale? To be financially viable, I'd say 10 hectares. And that's where you sort of want to start. And then from there you can go to, we have plans of reaching upwards of 500 hectares. But that's a time scale, and make sure everything's managed correctly and it's all running. We have the science and the ability to make this happen, and then at the moment allowing it to be invested in by the public, so everyone owns it, and it can become a worldwide sort of product.
I'm sorry, I had to do my calculation here. 10 hectares is 25 acres, right? I mean, I'm just thinking US terms.
Yep, that's fine.
1 hectare, right?
elevation.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So we don't want
still
to go too big at first, but it's a decent size.
right.
And then with all the production, that's been sorted out now, and it will just get down to the end of how we use it to eat, what the final products are. Obviously, that's another part of research that's being pushed, but it's either oil or protein, but there's such an opportunity there. I'm also, being a chemical engineer, doing a food minor, so I'm very interested in food, and this is going to be another big industry that's available for people to get a high value product that they can eat, that's good for you, and fast to grow, and sort of carbon neutral, or even less if we can. There's a lot of companies out there that we've been investigating that are making these carbon capture units out of the atmosphere, and then we could use that to grow and turn it into oxygen. I mean, it's, as you said, it'd be wonderful, to save the world sort of thing, but it's a stepwise thing. But we need to do these little steps to make everything happen. These projects, they can help, but I mean, it's not the final solution. Everyone has to work together to do these things, but these little solutions that we can provide are, end up being big solutions in the end.
Yeah, I don't want to diverge too much from what Tevo is trying to drive here, because this is important to have it organized in a kind of picture of what we've discussed. At the same time, I guess one of my concerns that probably should be put up onto the mirror board is around scale, because when I look at the 10 acres, 10 hectare ground has to be flat. I presume it's just water this is growing in, so you have to. Is that true?
Yep. So we don't need fresh water either. So we can use brinish water, and we can use seawater. So we're not going to affect drinking water or agricultural water either, which is a huge benefit to this. We don't need arable land, so we don't need to take up farmland. Having flat land, we do need for this, but we can grow it in places that aren't suitable for other crops.
Right.
And for the size of it, it's because it doubles overnight and we can harvest so regularly. We can produce a lot more product in a smaller landmass.
Yeah. Have you looked into solutions that would allow for a smaller scale? I'm thinking of, a small Indonesian farmer that doesn't have 10 hectares, but they have some land. I mean, I've some
definitely.
Go ahead.
So that would be a system where you would find an area and then probably approach local farmers in that area, and then they could get their ponds or whatever they need to do and grow it. You'd have to have steps, someone in sort of quality control over the whole thing. I mean, it depends what the product is in the end. If it's for fertilizer or feedstock, probably not so much. I mean, for feedstock, you would want to, but you could look into all the quality behind it. But then you could get a massive amount of farmers to grow, and if they don't have much area, they could use what they could, and then all sort of get it together and have a localized production area that would suit that.
Is there a way to containerize it so that it doesn't require the flat land? I mean, I know there's lots of growers that just don't have flat land. And
Yeah, there is, and you could use sort of bioreactors or and LED lights and things like that. But the only problem with that is it is much more expensive.
Right.
It just becomes very expensive. I mean, you could create modular designs, but then the container system it's going to be much more expensive, and that's going to be a problem for small scale sort of farmers.
Right. Well, we should have a private discussion about that because I have some thoughts about that too as well. But I don't want to get too much into the tech solution because Tevo, I think we want to put this into a proposal. Is that correct?
Yeah, we bit jumped on the solution side, so I took notes on these latest discussions. But if you go back to the problem statement, this is where actually you want to get the problem statement first before you start aligning with the solution. Although you already had like the big concept and years of experience, so you're allowed to kind of jump around just to be aware of it. There is no wrong way of doing things. But to go back to the problem statement, reminding the main topics we had, since we had, okay, now I'm Melanie here. But people, I was combining this, like we are wasting resources compared to models we could have, and combine it with the people who are not aware of this technology. But I kind of feel like it might be a put away problem statement for people. Are like, oh, you expect me? I'm not aware. Download, like abstain. So I'm not sure would this as a problem statement work. But another thing, I was maybe thinking of if you scope down to the product type or the resource type. So let's say like we are wasting finite resources to produce food oil, or whatever protein or something which you in the end, if we go back to the solution side, these are the products you kind of in the end see you could sell. So what you see the most value in the first experiment. So it doesn't mean that no, you cannot do anything else, but to have a good focus point, it's just so much easier for the commute advisors and the voters to read. Because if you start giving them, you can do this, and this, you use this, then it's gonna get very technical, and they will maybe jump into something like about this. If you have a concrete plan and like one, let's call it an experimental product, then it's easier to follow, and people are kind of more clear. And another thing through this process is when you start defining like team roles or what is this proposal about and all of the other sections, then these can be kind of like copy pasted on all of the other solutions. Just the solution changes. So it's like a modular system and system thinking. Anyway.
Sorry to interrupt. Do we have a link to this mural board for one? I'm just looking at the time, you guys. Half hour to town hall. Maybe what's the next steps forward, Tevo? Have you decided that? Like where does Dylan go with this?
So I don't know. My first hope was to get like a good description of problem statement, and this is already you could use as a draft. So if you don't have a proposal draft in an idea scale, then that is a good problem statement to start with. Also, if you have this kind of ideation in front of you, you want to kind of pick and choose the path or journey you want to give the person, so you can already get some solution. Of course, relevant experience and title we did not reach, but I guess this is the next
experience. That's fine. The other team members are both doctors.
Yeah, I think you have a great time because you already said, you have a lab and there is a purpose, there is peer reviewed. I think this is the feasibility is going to be a very strong part from you by default, because you are already just sharing the LinkedIn of a doctor, and that's gonna pretty much do that.
So Tevo,
impact is your focus, and impact is
Yes.
from problem statement and solution statement.
Does Dylan go to your other videos of workshops to finish his proposal, to work through this? What's the plan going forward with what you've started?
That's for Dylan to decide. Mini proposal process is for ideation, so I do this for myself too, but I guess I'm just too used to it. So for a new person, it's maybe harder to do it alone. But if you can gather a group of people or your friends or the laboratory people, okay,
yep,
let's talk about what is integration. Do we have a brand name? And you can just answer through yourself. And if you don't understand integration, you can go on. I will have the process video. If you just everybody watches the 10-minute video, will actually get the insight of all of these sections a bit. And basically just going through the questions, what kind of proposals you're making. The one issue here with this mini proposal itself is that it doesn't have the explanation of all of these questions. So you kind of have to sometimes come up with that if they are not descriptive itself. So for example, in this case, what kind of proposal you're making is the paper, is the document itself, is it for community, is this a research document, is this a like funding document to start a project we already been working for 10 years, or is it a business model you're trying to push, or is it just an idea to find people who are other people who are interested in? So a bit of meta level, talking about the document itself. And yeah, so on. That is, I think KPI section is a bit nice, so it gives you like a template of options to choose from. Like, okay, can we use a result? What kind of results we could use as KPI? Is it capital? Do we want to use user feedback? If somebody uses Algae, buys Algae, or just part of like the research, are like you can even measure, did they understand the research you're doing? Yes, no, and or 1 to 5, how simple was it to understand how much oxygen algae produces? Like this is even metric because we have the intention, and you kind of can set the intention with the KPIs. Or on the operational side, like how many hours you have been spending on this research or this document or these tasks, or what milestones we have there, how well we are get to this. Yeah, basically, this is one way to just try to cope with the process and answer here. The first immediate thing you kind of need to do is, of course, make a draft proposal, post the proposal statement, solution, and to the idea scale before tomorrow. Well, I guess tomorrow 11 UTC is the last time. And from
we
there,
have a 1-week extension for that, but just having in the placeholder is important.
Yeah,
Dylan,
okay.
do you have a placeholder yet or not?
I don't, and me and another team member, I've started to sort of write proposals. This has been excellent to go through. We'll be able to sort of get a placeholder in for us today. I think it's like 3:30 in the morning now. So he'll be around in a few hours, and we'll start going through a bit more.
And then the other thing I would love, I did drop another mural board link in there, and it's got stickies. Tevo, anybody here that's got a proposal in idea scale, it's got all the different challenges. Just put your sticky there with a link to your idea scale, and then we can track what's going on with our community to a point, and maybe start forming collaborations as well.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have. I think I said it was Algae Token. We've just got algaetoken.com for the website at the moment, and the white paper's still got a few final touches being made over it for version 1, because it's a fairly dynamic sort of system, and how that overarching sort of system of like a foundation and non-for-profits and things like that work, it needs to be all sort of concrete in for laws. But
I need to jump in and tell you there's a proposal going through by somebody to build a DAO builder on Cardano, which sounds like you'd be interested in. So they're trying to copy Aragon and be a competitor on Cardano, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So that'd be like.
Did that work? Algitoken.com?
Just pop the link in the chat to Clarity DAO builder. It's called.
There we go.
And that's one from this fund, Fund 8?
Yeah, they're putting into the dApps and integrations.
dApps and I'll just add that in to the other Miro board.
Yeah, just I added this in. Commenting on the DAO builder, I think this is from Adagov, the Niels and Rowe, the company, like collaboration. I also talked with them. And I think we are kind of all aligning on the same idea that we just need better software than IdeaScale and the way we collaborate our proposals, how do we measure them, how do we see the results. So I guess Fund 8 gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm planning to put in a challenge setting in to have a place for these challenges, but these proposals, if they do not get, right now they are kind of in all over the place in miscellaneous or cross collaboration or developer ecosystem.
I hear you, Tevo. How about being the Cardano for climate? And we're trying to navigate the challenge settings as well.
Tevo, did you imply that there could be a new challenge put in already in Fund 8 or not?
No, it's you put in Fund 8, yeah, but for Fund 9, yeah, I didn't mean we already start doing it.
Okay.
I've seen one in there that I've brought them to the attention of my democracy one because it's a similar sort of thing. They're looking at building a community type building tool or something like that. So it's all again what we were talking about earlier, Dan. It's everybody's got the same idea. We need to let everybody work together in a single system instead of having this 10 different tools that we use across all these different landscapes.
Right.
You just want one platform that you log into. You can see the guys in your team and collaborate with other teams, isn't it? That's what's needed.
Exactly. It's a community-based bottom-up approach. We have take a look at our thing. I had to put it in the miscellaneous category because the DAO one disappeared. The DAO challenge disappeared, and I didn't know where else to put it. I have a cross-chain one developing too, but that's kind of an aside. But I agree, we need to have some place to put this stuff because it is so very important, yet it doesn't have a place.
So that being said, I also have we have the challenge setting challenge team, jump in and do that because it is one challenge that so far goes from fund to fund, and finding some sort of continuity in there is important. Maybe there's some way that we can influence the budget and collaboration, cooperation across the challenge settings. And when we can see what's happening and start saying, hey, you guys, you could combine this and look at this. And you guys, this is a pretty high budget, means that this really important challenge setting is out. Is there a way of adjusting this a little bit? It's really important that we're in there at the top to help the ground up as well. So
yeah.
Anyways.
Well, I think the challenge, at least in this area, is really around collaboration more than it's around DAOs. I mean, DAOs are going to be a great place to work, but it's actually too big for kind of this. The collaboration stage has to happen before the DAOs can be collaborative.
So on town hall last week, we, as challenges, we were putting in a slide, and I'm scrambling trying to figure out what to do. And the word Ubuntu came to mind, about we are all one working together. And that's all I needed to put in there was just, this is going to be a collaborative effort. If I'm quasi lead or, put into this position, that's what my goal is, to create this collaboration across. Not a lot happening there, but Dan, I dropped the link in the chat. You're welcome to join it. Anybody's welcome to join it. whoever participates, like there's a lot of lurkers, and as far as divvying up the fund, it's going to go towards people who are actually participating and helping out. It just makes sense, if you're just there for a free ride because you're part of the challenge team, not going to happen. It's not a free ride. So
I think the thing we all need to do is draw kind of a landscape of somehow of what we're working on and make sure we're not duplicating that, and then pitch all the ideas into separate proposals into a challenge fund that we collectively name a challenge fund that doesn't have the word climate in it, so it doesn't get voted down.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah, it's part of it. I will still have climate change, the cooperation, as a very small collaborative challenge, asking that we shift the rules a little bit on that one, and we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the way I tried to approach this is, instead of saying I want to build a tool set to tackle climate change, I've just made it general purpose and said to allow groups to just collectively spend money and decide what they want to work on together and to work with other groups, because then we've got the tools that we need to tackle the climate solution. Somebody else can use it to go and build an oil refinery if they want. It's not what we want them to use it for, but that's the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, so I want to also be really clear about this. If climate change, the name is a trigger and it gets downvoted and then it disappears, what does that say to the community? Right? That means that your voice is not important. You get a downvote, you don't get funding, something goes wrong your way. I'm going to keep coming back with this and going, we're adjusting this. We're listening to those downvotes. We're figuring this out because this is such an important topic. We're going to keep going with it. Going to be a little stubborn on this and keep it going.
There's something I asked to be done to the voting results, and I've said there's a Catalyst suggestions page, and I've said, can you put the number of wallets for and against, not just because we get the number of wallets and then the AIDA for and against, don't we? So I wanted to see, was it just 3 wallets that voted us down?
Yeah.
Or was it 470? There's a big difference. I think there was 850 votes cast altogether, but we don't know whether it was just a couple of whales that held us back or generally.
It certainly opens up a conversation. Fund aid is going to be entirely different, and we're going to get this figured out one way or another. Tevo, thank you so much for hosting this.